Okay, welcome everybody who's joining the session here at Educake, and we're going to be looking at streamlining homework for geography. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes to give people a chance to join, and then we'll introduce ourselves and get started. So thank you all very much for joining, and we'll just give it a couple more minutes as people start to join, and then we'll be starting the Educate webinar.
Yes, thank you everyone for registering for this webinar. As Hilary said, this is all about streamlining homework for your geography department. Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us remotely from wherever you are. I hope you'll find this a really helpful session for embedding routines that will help you to reduce friction in that process of setting and marking homework, both for yourself and for your colleagues. My name is Alison, and I'm the Teacher Engagement Lead at Educake, and I try to help teachers get the most out of the tools that Educake offers. I'm here today with my colleague Hilary, who's an account manager at Educake, and she's going to be sharing with you her top tips for setting homework more effectively and efficiently. We're also thrilled to have Paul Morrison here as our expert guest. He's the head of geography at South Craven School, and he's going to talk to you about his unique context, the challenges they face, the solutions they found, as well as his insights into how Educake has helped them and can help you as well. Before we get started, I just want to draw your attention to the Q&A feature of this webinar. So you'll find that probably towards the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions for any of us, please do type them into the box and we'll go through them and answer them at the end of the presentation, which will be in about 20 minutes time. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Paul.
Hi everyone, so my name is Paul Morrison and I'm the head of geography at South Craven School. We've been using Educake for the last couple of years. I just wanted to give a bit of a context of our school setting. So we are a large secondary academy, fully comprehensive, based in North Yorkshire. We set a weekly homework task in every subject in Key Stage 3 and at GCSE level. We have got 4 groups in GCSE in each year group. So we have a total of 38 different groups who are taking geography across year 7 to 11, with 11 teaching staff, including 6 non-specialists. I'm going to hand over now to Hilary, who's going to demonstrate some of the main features of Educake.
Hi everybody, thank you. So I will be going through Educake on your side, the teacher side, to show you the main features that will help you collaborate, set homework in advance. If you're looking to improve consistency in homework, features that can help you do that. And then also looking at how you can use the results from the homework to track homework policy, and also to monitor students' progress and give students feedback on how they're doing. Before I jump into that, which will just be the whole process about 10 minutes, I am just sharing my screen to set in context by showing you how the students pick up your homework so that you can see what they see. So when a student logs in, they will see their upcoming quizzes in orange. To complete a quiz, they literally just click on the quiz they want to complete, and this is what they'll see. So they see who it's been set by, when it's due, how many questions. This is obviously a dummy quiz with only 1 question. Any message from you, read the study guide, look at the BBC Bite Size to complete the quiz. And if you've put any links in for them to look at as part of their homework, they'll be there. They then begin the quiz. They'll see the question. They can decide what to answer. I'm going to answer false and submit. I've got it wrong. The right answer is true. I can disagree with my mark, and that will send a message back to my teacher with a little comment on why I've got confused. So the students can send you feedback as well, and I'll show you where you find that when we get to the quiz results. They then click View Quiz Results. From there, they can take the quiz again straight away, which is great for retrieval practice to try and improve their score. They can also review the questions in the quiz. So they could open up the questions, see what they got wrong, what they answered, and they can evaluate their work. So again, according to retrieval practice, they can say what went well and say what they're going to do to improve. And that will send you an answer back into your mark book, if they submit, on how they've evaluated. So if I go back to my Educake, going back to the front, so that is where they would complete their quiz, just clicking on the orange quizzes. If they looked at view all your quizzes, that opens up their completed quizzes. So if they want to come and retake in a second session, they just click that view all their quizzes, then they'll see their completed quizzes. If you're in a school using Educate for more than one subject, they can filter by subject, and then they can pick up the quiz again from there. So they can pick up a quiz. I've picked up a different one, but they can take the quiz again, review the questions in the quiz as we looked at before. If they've queried something and the teacher hasn't answered, it'll be a purple question mark. If the teacher has answered, there'll be a purple tick. So this student has spelt it wrong, asked about the spelling, that's what I meant, and the teacher's responses take a bit more time to spell the terms correctly, but she's overridden the mark and marked it as correct. I'll just come back up there. So that is very quickly focusing on the homework. Back to my Educake. The students complete the quizzes from the orange section, and they can do view all your quizzes to review their completed quizzes. Students can, of course, use Educake to self-set quizzes for independent revision, and they can either use the study and quiz yourself section on the right or the revision wizard. But in this webinar session, we're focusing on homework. If you've sent them a message back through Educake, they will have that purple box there saying there's feedback from the teachers. They can open it up. It was on the development revision quiz, and they can click, go to the answers to the quiz and find out what you've said to them, but they will always get a message there. So that is just to set into context what students see when you set them homework. What I'll now do is go into the teacher side of Educake and just show you, let me just get there. Hopefully this is a screen you're familiar with when you log into Educake. So what I'm going to focus on here is features that will help you collaborate with colleagues so that you can share workload and streamline setting your homework. And then we'll look at the quiz results on how you can use those quiz results to track homework and track students' progress and give students feedback. So first of all, you will always see in orange any quizzes that you have assigned yourself. But one of the great ways to collaborate is you can pick up other teachers' quizzes as well. Every teacher can see every quiz. And to do that, you use the filters button. You can filter by date, which I need to do because this is a dummy account and some of the quizzes are very old. You can filter by year group. You can then go down and filter by class, which I'm going to do in this instance, but you can view all the quizzes and you can show other teachers' quizzes. Then if I look down at the quiz list, I can see my quizzes and I can see quizzes set by other teachers to this class. From here, I can reset that quiz if I want to. So I can click on actions and I can reset or copy the quiz. And that will take you, sorry, wrong one. That's set to Edexcel and I'm using AQA. Let me just go back down there again. I do apologize. Get you to the right place. We're back there again. So let me use that top one, which hopefully is the right one. I'm going to reset our copy quiz. There's the quiz with the questions ticked. Now I could change the questions. I could add a question and create a custom question, maybe to reference something you've been covering in your class or a case study you looked at in your class. If I'm happy with the questions, I can click on straight through. Yes, I'm happy. I could add some links. I can change the message for my students. I could randomize the question order if I wanted to. From here, what I can also do is save the quiz as a template, and that saves it in a question bank that any teacher in your department or in your school can then access. So if you wanted to set quizzes in advance, maybe for a term, maybe a teacher was being mentored, or you wanted to set something up for a non-specialist who was covering some classes for a while, save template quizzes is a way that you can do that, and I'll show you where they get saved. You could preview the quiz from here, which would show it to you as we've just seen for a student account. And that is one way that you could use a quiz from front of class, is you can literally step through it with the students from front of class if you use the preview quiz option. If we're going to assign it, we can set quiz dates. You can set in advance. So again, you can get ahead. You can set in advance, as long as you know when you're going to hit that moment in the scheme of work. Choose your class. You can set to one class, you can set to multiple classes, and you can differentiate here. So we can untick, we can tick just a couple. And if you want a quick check of how students are doing, to decide whether to differentiate, if you click on the magnifying glass, it will take you into a progress report for that student to give you an idea of how they're getting on with Educake. When you're happy, you assign the quiz, which I won't do right now because we've got so many being assigned, but we'll assign the quiz, and that then will take it and pop it in your list of orange assigned quizzes. Okay. We talked about saving a quiz as a template to create a question bank for the school, and the saved template quizzes are here. They're just split by course, and we've got one saved here, and you can then use the button to reassign it in exactly the same way. So it's possible to work in advance and set homeworks for a half term that everybody can get to and then assign to their class. When you're assigning, you can assign to multiple classes at once, but each class will then see it as having come from the teacher who pressed the button to assign the quiz. Okay, so that's the only difference. But other than that, it would go as normal. So that's just some ways you can collaborate, you can share workload, pick up each other's quizzes, and just streamline that setting homework idea. If we now look at the quiz results, oh, one more thing, sorry, here. A student has asked you to review a question, and you can click here to view it. Now I'm going to do that because it's going to take me straight in to the quiz results, just to see if you clicked on the orange quiz would take you into the quiz results. So here we are. In any orange quiz list, it will tell you how many students have completed the quiz and how many students are assigned the quiz. So 21 out of 25 have completed this homework assignment. I can click and review the queries from here, or I can find them in the big quiz results grid that we have. So let me just talk you through this grid and how you can use this grid. This is the first grid we come to, but we can see at the top, it is the simple view here. Simple meaning it has every answer the students have given. At the moment, the view we're on is on first attempt, but if you're encouraging students to retake, you can look at best attempts and last attempts, and we'll look at that in a minute. And everywhere you are on Educake on results, you can download the results if you need to report. So a great big grid. We can see the first line is national averages, which is all the averages of quizzes assigned to students in Educake as national averages, but it gives you a rough guide as to where your students are stacking. I would stress there are gaps here in that national average row, and that's because this is a dummy account and it's going back, 2 years. It's not live data. But if we don't have enough data, we'll leave it blank, but it will give you an idea. Your second line is your students average for each question. And then obviously we've got down the left-hand side, all the students in the class and their averages for each student. Anywhere you see the 2 arrows, you can reorder to enable you to navigate quickly. So if I reorder here, I will see the questions where my students haven't achieved that well. If I then click on a question, I can see the correct answer and I can see all the incorrect answers. So I can get an idea of the misconceptions and I can give feedback on this question direct to every single student. Just close that down. Equally, I could hover over any mark and I would see the student's answer, or click and get a fuller report on that student's answer. Okay. Anywhere there is a purple mark, a student has asked me something. So the second student down has queried this question. And if I look at it, there's the question, there's the accepted answers. That's what the student has answered. They meant debt relief. Isn't that the same thing? I can type my response, and if I want to, I can change the mark to correct if I believe the student has got close enough and I'm encouraging them, but I can leave a comment on there. If a student has completed a self-evaluation, I'll see it as a purple question mark there. And we looked at the self-evaluation at the end of the quiz in the student's view of Educake. What went well, what didn't go well, what are you going to do? And you can enter a comment and send the student back a comment from there. If a student completed an evaluation and I've already sent a comment back, I'll see it in green. And even if a student hasn't completed an evaluation, I can still click and send them a comment. Well done for your effort. You're going to score an effort point or whatever it is that you want to say. Okay. So that's a quick look at the simple view of Educake. Now, if you're tracking homework policy more quickly, Educake will help you do that. So if we go into the detailed view, it opens up 3 additional columns: late, attempts, and quiz minutes. Again, I can reorder the students here. So if I reorder, wrong way around, if I reorder, I will get the students who are late or who haven't completed the quiz. Now, students can complete the quiz after the deadline, so there's no barriers to learning, but if you're tracking homework policy, you can pick it up from there very quickly and then report it through or set the consequence for not completing. I'll see a number of attempts, and again, if I sort it by the number of attempts, I'll pick up that that top student, Laura, has made 2 attempts on the quiz. Now we can see her first attempt is what we're showing at the moment, and she took 20 minutes on her first attempt and she scored 62%. So if I look at her last attempt, we can see she only spent 2 minutes on it and she only scored 12%, and that's because she didn't complete the quiz on her last attempt, so it wasn't really an attempt. Okay, so this enables you to track that homework policy a little bit better from the detailed view, and again, you can download from there. If you're encouraging students to retake the quiz for retrieval practice and to embed their knowledge, improve their score, there is an attempts view, and that will show you all the attempts for this quiz and whether they've improved their score. Sadly, this class haven't done that, but that would enable them to do it. Anywhere that you see a student's name on any of these views, if you click on the name, you get 2 options. Firstly, an option to view the student's quiz report. So if I click that, that will give a report for this quiz, performance by topic, what questions they did. So they are, if you want to evidence that or hand it to the students, you can print it and give that. But they can also see that, as we've just seen, live in their student view if you're encouraging them to use that and look at how they've scored on a question or look at their scores in the overall class on the right-hand study and quiz yourself side. You can also view Alexandra's progress by topic, and that will open up a very quick view of the whole course, and you can expand and see how they're getting on from there. Let me whiz back to quiz results. So we're back on the simple view. Anywhere you see a student's name, you can click to view those reports. You can click on questions to view those questions. The final one I'll just look at here is hide student results. What hide student results enables you to do is reteach from the front of the classroom. And again, if I reorder those questions and we pick up the question that only 33% got correct, student results, student names are hidden, but you can then teach from the front of the class straight from here. So you can talk about the question, show the answer, discuss it with the class, go on to the next question. So it's a quick way to address those common misconceptions with the class in the following lesson. If I whiz back to my Educake, so what we've looked at there is the quiz results, which you can also access here just by clicking on the results. If what you decide to do is set homework centrally to all classes in a group, as this one has set to many classes, when you click on those quiz results, you will get a filter and you can filter down by class there. Back to my Educake. So what we've looked at is how you can collaborate, and we've looked at using the individual quiz results to track homework policy, see how students are progressing, give feedback to those students. You can also look at printing reports and monitoring homework for a whole class at a time. And that is held over here in Managed Students Classes and Years. So if I just click on Managed Students Classes and Years, I'm going to click on my year group. I'm going to click on my class and select all students. From here, I've got lots of options, and you might be familiar with reset passwords to username. But also here, you can download quiz lists. That will download a quiz list for all the students in that class, all the quizzes they've been assigned, and what they've scored for each quiz, if you're reporting on that. And then they will download as a zip file with an Excel for each student. And you can download reports, which I can more easily show you. They'll just open as a PDF. And then for the whole class, I'll get just a little report on how they're doing, how many questions they've answered, what they've got correct, and in which subject and question type. If there was enough questions, there'd be strongest and weakest topics here as well. So it's a useful one for parents' evening, and particularly as students are building up to their exams. Let me just close that down. And that for a class, just to remind you, you're getting at that from Managed Students Classes and Years. Okay. The final one I want to show you in this section, though Paul might touch on others, is you can click on the Mark book. And that again will give you, hopefully, it's Key Stage 3 that we've got results for a class, for a topic. It will, I've got my dates to reset again. Sorry about this, everybody, in my dummy account. Let me just set it back. It hasn't. It would give me a list of quizzes and all the results for the class, and then I could download that from there as well. So another way of tracking homework policy, and you can date filter so that you can analyze for a term or a half term or whatever period you're looking for. So when we're looking at it, we can see on quiz results, quick check, have your students completed or not? Click on the quick quiz results to monitor homework policy, and then we've got additional reports that you can print for a class from Managed Student Classes and Years, and you can look at the Mark book from there as well. So those are the main features. The one other thing I'd say on the way through is when Educake is setting quizzes, or students are setting themselves quizzes or using the revision wizard, we keep the number of questions at 10 questions, so there are no barriers to learning. And the one thing I would say is it's very, very quick in Educake to set a quiz which has all the questions in a topic, which could end up taking the students a long time. And when you're setting a quiz, if I just show you, it will always show you how many questions and approximately how long on average it is taking students to complete that set of questions. We can see in the data that getting close to 20 questions, the student engagement drops off. And obviously, you know your students and you know how long they're supposed to spend on their homework. And that's the only warning I'd say, is just to watch it rather than click all the way through, is just to refine and set questions that's achievable to help the students engage. And obviously, depending whether you're wanting it as a end of topic assessment or as a regular weekly homework. So those were my main points I wanted to cover off. And what I'll do now is I'll just stop sharing for a moment and I will hand back to Paul, who'll pick up on how he is actually using Educake in his department.
Thank you, Hilary. So we use a lot of those features on a daily basis. And I just wanted to talk about a few of those and how we kind of adapt them for our needs at South Craven. So one of the things that we do, we set retrieval practice quizzes at the start of every lesson, and we set a weekly homework task. So we use the template feature to make a list of quizzes standardized for every single lesson and for every homework for each year group. So we use Google, but it could be whatever you use in your school. So we have a Google Doc. So we have, for example, Year 10, Urban Issues and Challenges, lessons 1 to 15, title of the lesson, and a hyperlink that takes you to the template that you should be utilizing for that particular quiz. So we know that it's standardized across all the teaching staff. I think that's particularly useful at Key Stage 3 when we're working with non-specialist teachers who don't have to think about it or engage with the materials, particularly beyond the fact that they know that that retrieval practice is there. What I want them to do in terms of the engagement is looking at that in terms of what the answers are, specifically rather than necessarily the score, really focusing on where the misconceptions are and looking at those percentages, comparing to national average, and being able to go on and work with the students to reteach or just very quickly go over what it is that they have potentially missed within that. So we ask our students to spend 30 minutes each week on their homework task, and they're able to utilize the feature of retaking the quiz. We're able to see how many attempts that they have made to try and get their score up to around 100%. Obviously, we're pleased that they have made the attempt in the first place. And I think it depends on the time, the size of the groups, whatever the variables are within your setting as to how much time you are able to go in and see, right, how many attempts have they made? How long have they spent doing it? Was it late? All those features are available to you if you have the time and ability to do that. Or it could be when it comes time to doing your reporting for progress, however many review points you have, we know that we can go in, look at that mark book, see the attempts that they've made. We just judge attitude to independent learning as an effort grade. But if I can see the amount of time they've taken, the amount of attempts they've done, and their score, we can make a subjective opinion for each student based on that big mark book of data that we've got. So that is a huge workload gain for us in terms of not having to trawl through exercise books and mark things individually. And for the students, they're able to work with targeted questions that we can give them across the broad range of topics that we've been doing. When it comes to teaching the lessons, we do utilize the hide students feature. So we can put up the score from the homework quiz and from the retrieval practice quiz and reorder to see those questions that they didn't do quite as well on. But what I'm really encouraging the teaching staff within the department to do is to utilize those questions to plan for future lessons in terms of the teaching. So if we know that there's something that they're not grasping, we can look in terms of our long-term planning as to whether that's a particular skill concept that we need to readdress. And in terms of short-term planning, you can do it there and then within the lesson to address it. But equally, if you are resetting quizzes for homework, going back to those questions to check that understanding based on the teaching that you've done has been developed in the way that you want it to be done. We also use a feature in terms of creating our own questions within the topics. So there's an existing bank of questions for each unit across suggested Key Stage 3 topics and then the GCSE. We tailor them to the case studies that we use. So at Key Stage 3, obviously, they have the most common units. We have some slightly different units that we do. So we've been able to write the questions for those. And then at GCSE level, the case study questions, because when we looked at our GCSE results, one of the things that we found is that the students haven't been grasping and utilizing the specific facts within the case studies that would push them to that higher banding in the 6 and 9 mark questions at GCSE. And so we want to use this, the ability to go back to these questions in a kind of repetitive manner to develop their long-term memory. And we're able to do that by writing our own questions. I think let's have a little look. Yeah, we've used the feature for the reports. We're coming up to our mock exams. I've done it live within lessons, so I can bring the students up and open up their report, have a look and say, right, we're doing a Unit 1 mock. Which of these features does it say based on their answers that they could use some to focus their attention to in terms of setting themselves quizzes or within their wider revision outside of Educate? And then I think finally, as a head of department, I've been able to use Educate, the tools within Educate for our monitoring, evaluation and review. I've had 2 review points where I've been able to look at the quizzes that the teachers have been setting. You can filter by year group and then by class. So I knew how many quizzes should have been set per class. It highlighted immediately which groups weren't being set the same number of quizzes. So I noticed that there was a pattern in where I had split groups. It wasn't necessarily been done as regularly as I'd intended for it to be, and then with a couple of the non-specialists. So I was able to then set up support for those teachers to go back to them and ask whether or not they had, whether it was technical needs or whether it was just developing that communication link between teachers. So when I've then gone back at a second checkpoint, I can see that a lot of those issues have been ironed out. That's it for me. So I guess it's handing over to Alison to leading through any questions that anybody had. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Hilary and Paul. Yes, so now is the time to look at the questions that you've asked. I'm going to have a look. Please do continue to add your questions as you think of them. So we've got a question. How do you help teachers who are tech averse and encourage them to set quizzes? That sounds like a good one for Paul.
Hi, yeah, so it was the case that from that first MER point that a couple of teachers just didn't know from the basic training or from trying to work it out themselves how to do it. So I created a tutorial video within our own setting so exactly how I intended for them to use it. They had a look at it, came back with any questions. I think it is pretty intuitive, but I know beyond that there is a suite of Educake tutorial videos and the help section within the website that gives them the opportunity to be able to engage and develop their skills.
Fantastic, thank you. So I've got another question, which is, will Educate continue to add further questions to the quiz banks? Yes, so we are always looking to improve and looking to expand our content. I can see your name there, so what I'll do is I will just follow up with you after the call and just open up the conversation to you if you have any suggestions for topics that you'd like to see us add. We're always looking for more feedback in that vein, so that's really much appreciated. Any other questions? Let's see. One What happens if a student only partially completes a quiz? That sounds like one for Hilary.
Hi. Yeah, if they only partially complete a quiz, then we've seen already that you will see the results of the few questions they have answered, but that quiz stays in their upcoming quizzes orange box to complete. So it just stays there until they go back in and complete it. When they go back in, it takes them to the next question that they still have outstanding to do.
So yeah, fantastic. If there are no more questions, then that brings us to the end of the webinar. Just to let you know that we've recorded this session and everyone who signed up will receive an email with a link to the video by the end of this week for sure. Thank you again so much to Paul and Hilary and all of you who watched and who took part. I hope it's given you some useful ideas to add to your teaching toolkit. Thank you very much and bye for now.